my name is Megan and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. In the month of August, I read 9 books. I don't even know how I managed to read 9 books, but I did, and I stuck to my TBR, except for my classics read. If you watched my August TBR video, you know that I was going to read Paradise Lost by John Milton, which I am still in the middle of reading, so that is also going to be part of my September TBR. So unfortunately, I did not get my classic done, but every other book on my TBR I did manage to finish, plus some. So in the month of August, I had 1 DNF, 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 3 4-stars, and 3 5-stars. So all in all, it was an amazing reading month. So let's just get on into the books that I read. So my DNF book for August, unfortunately, was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This is a young adult historical fiction, and it follows our main character, Audrey Rose, who is really into forensics and science and that sort of thing, and she employs her uncle, who is a professor of medicine at a university, to teach her how to autopsy bodies and that kind of thing, and She's really interested in the Jack the Ripper murders that start occurring around London, so her and a love interest step out to investigate these murders. So the reason that I DNF'd this book was that I just could not connect to the writing style. It was just incredibly stiff, and even the dialogue was extremely stiff. And I'm not sure if the author was trying to mimic like Victorian era England, but for me it just was not a fun reading experience, and I just didn't enjoy it. The second reason that I chose to DNF this book was I did not really like our protagonist, Audrey Rose. Every other page, she was reminding the reader how she could do everything a man could do. Yes, that is 100% true. Granted, women weren't given as many opportunities during this time period, but I don't need to be reminded of that every single page, and it just got old really fast. This book to me read very young, and I feel like I would recommend it for a younger reader if it didn't deal with the concept of a serial killer killing prostitutes. So it's like a double-edged sword. I really wanted to enjoy this book. I really was excited to pick it up, and I just couldn't connect with it, so it was a DNF for me, unfortunately. My 2-star read for the month is going to be Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. This is a YA pirate fantasy, and it follows our main character, Alosa, who is the daughter of the Pirate King. And she lets herself get purposely captured by an enemy pirate clan in order to look for a missing map that might lead to treasure. The reason I gave this book 2 stars is that I was able to get through it in one sitting. It's a very, very quick read, and I also really enjoyed the dialogue and banter between Alosa and her love interest, whose name is escaping me right now. So that is why I gave this book 2 stars. The reason that I didn't rate it higher is that I did not enjoy the writing. It was so simple, and there was no descriptions whatsoever. This setting is a pirate ship on the gorgeous ocean with cotton candy clouds and sapphire oceans and gulls squawking in the distance, and no imagery whatsoever, no descriptions whatsoever. The writing was so bland, and the story focuses on the romance between Alosa and her love interest. I cannot remember his name. I also did not like Alosa as a character. Yes, she is a very tough female, but she is very arrogant about it, and she reminds the reader how tough she is every chance she gets, and it gets old really fast. Also, she does have a magical gift, which is a spoiler if you know the title of the second book, which I did, so I already knew that she had this gift, and it just appears in the middle of the book with no prelude whatsoever, and even though I knew that she had this gift, it was still caught me off guard. I was like, where did this come from? It was just like all of a sudden. So I just felt like there was a lot of plot holes, just not a lot of consistency in the way that the events were laid out, and I just didn't enjoy it overall. So I'm not going to be continuing with this series. My 3-star read for the month is going to be This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This is another young adult fantasy. I do have a full review for this, which I will leave linked up below if you want to check it out. This was an enjoyable read. It follows our 2 main characters, Kate and August, in a world where monsters are birthed by humans' evil acts, such as murder or assault. And it was an enjoyable read. I did like it, but I just felt a lot of disconnect with the story. It didn't wow me in any shape or form. And like I said, I'm not going to get into it. You can check out my spoiler-free review if you want to. But because I didn't feel wowed by the story, I don't plan on continuing with the series either. My first 4-star read for the month of August is going to be The Crimson Campaign by Brian McKellen. This is the second book in the Powder Mage trilogy, and this was not on my TBR, but it should have been, because when I filmed my video, I was in the middle of reading this. I think I was about halfway through and I forgot to add it, so it should have been on my August TBR. But this is an adult fantasy book, high fantasy book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I don't remember enjoying the first book nearly as much as I enjoyed this one. Multi-perspective book, and it follows 3 characters in a world where powder mages can ingest gunpowder and they get additional powers and heightened senses from gunpowder. Our 3 main characters are Adamant. Adamant is not a powder mage. He is a detective who is looking for his missing family. Follows Thomas, who is the general of this country. Budapest is the city. This country's army, who is a powder mage, and his son, Taniel Two-Shot, who is a powder mage, and he is a captain in the army. So, oh, I'm sorry, it has one more perspective. It has Mila, who is just a servant girl. So 4 perspectives. I really enjoyed this book because I felt like I got to know the characters more. There's not a ton of good female representation in the first book, but this one definitely improved. We have Capoel, who is a mute sorceress, but her powers grew quite a bit in this book. And we have Mila, the servant girl, who also we get to learn more about her, and she becomes more powerful and more of an authority figure in this book. So I just really liked the way that the story went. It kept me engaged from beginning to end, despite it being almost 700 pages. So I'm definitely going to be continuing on with this series, and I'm really excited to see how it ends in the 3rd book. The next 4-star read I have for the month of August is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is an adult science fiction book and my first space opera. So I kind of went in not knowing what to expect, but all in all, I really, really enjoyed this book. This is a dual perspective book. It follows Miller, who is a detective who works for an Orc corporation, but he was born on the asteroid belt and lives on the asteroid belt. And it follows Holton, who is the captain of an ice miner ship that brings ice, I believe, around the galaxy so that these colonies on other planets have water. So Miller, the detective, gets hired to find a missing girl, while Holton ends up answering the distress signal of a ship that has been abandoned. And these 2 plot lines converge about the middle of the book, and we learn all about these conspiracies going on with the 3 main superpowers in the galaxy, Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt. I felt like the one negative would be all of the acronym usage. I feel like there should have been a glossary in this book because there were so many acronyms that it was really hard to keep up with, and it really would have been good to have some sort of glossary where I could refer back to who this character was and what they do and what this corporation is and what they do, because the world was so intricately built that it had its own history, it had its own language, it had its own technology that I got lost a little bit every once in a while. But all in all, I really did enjoy this book, and I do plan on continuing on with this series, which is saying a lot because right now this is a 9-book series and it's going to take me a while to get through them. But for my first space opera, I was pleasantly surprised. So 4 stars to Leviathan Wakes. My next 4-star book is going to be 3 Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake. This is a YA fantasy. I was really nervous going into this book because I've read a lot of reviews that say this book is very boring and very slow, and I did not find that to be the case. I was absolutely fascinated by this book. It follows 3 sisters, Arsinoe, Mirabella, and Catherine, and they are 3 triplet queens that every generation are born, and once they reach a certain age, they have to basically kill one another off until only one survives. So I think it was the premise of sisters killing each other and how bleak that is that really grabbed me and hooked me. And this book follows the lives of these 3 sisters. Ooh, my hand's starting to hurt. The book follows the lives of these 3 sisters, and honestly, every single sister was different, and I liked every single one of them. I thought that I was going to have one that I really liked and was going to root for her, but like I didn't find that at all. And I think another thing that hooked me was Catherine, who is a poisoner. Each queen has a gift. One is a poisoner, one is an elemental, and one is a naturalist. Catherine is our poisoner, and just what she went through and what her guardians were putting her through, like, was very disturbing. And I think just the whole atmosphere of just bleakness really grabbed me. So I agree that not a lot happened in the first 3/4 of this book, but the last quarter really did pick up. And honestly, I cannot wait to read the second book. I really, really enjoyed this. But I can also see how it wouldn't be for everybody. So I gave 4 stars to 3 Dark Crowns. And I will be continuing with the series. On to my 5-star books. So the first 5-star book I have to talk about is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This book really, I thought it was going to be a disappointment because of all the hype it got, but this is an adult fantasy and it follows our main character Kel, who is an Antari, who is able to travel between worlds. And in this book there are 4 different Londons and kind of parallel universes, and he is a blood mage who are the only people that are able to travel through these worlds. And I really, really liked how each London dealt with magic differently, and we saw how that affected their city based on how they treated the magic. Now Cal does come across a woman in Grey London named Delilah and kind of cross paths with her, and she becomes an important part of the story. And I can say that at first I didn't really like her, but towards the end I did enjoy Delilah. This book did kind of end as it could be a standalone, but there are 2 more books, so I'm excited to see where the series goes. And I just love the world. I loved the main character, Kel. I thought the descriptions in this book of these cities were so gorgeous and so amazing, and it was just a pleasure to read, and I cannot wait to pick up the next book, which I will be reading next month. Next 5-star book is going to be The Waking Fire by Anthony Ryan. This is an adult high fantasy, and it takes place in a world where dragon blood basically runs the world. Dragons are killed, their blood is siphoned, diluted, and then used to power certain technologies, and human beings who are born blood blessed can ingest diluted dragon blood and get certain powers. There are different color dragons, and each color dragon has a different power that it gives to a blood blessed. So these dragons are in high demand. So it follows 3 points of view. It follows Lizanne, who is a spy, Clay, who is the nephew of a captain, kind of like a mercenary group, and Halmore, which is a captain in the Corventine Navy. So while all 3 of these point of views seem completely different from one another, they do come together, Lizanne and Clay's, more quickly than those 2 in Halmore's. But this book I absolutely loved. Anthony Ryan's writing is just so intricate. His descriptions are amazing. The world building he does is amazing. He creates technology that does not even exist out of dragon blood. It had a very steampunk feel, and then the last quarter of the book it really picked up. The magic just exploded, and it was just amazing. This series is probably one of my new favorites. I just will probably read anything that Anthony Ryan puts out. And I will say it might not be for everybody because this book is about 200 and something thousand words, so it's long and it's very dense. So if you're not someone who enjoys high fantasy that's very dense, then I would not recommend this. If you like books that are super quick paced and like jumps from action to action to action, this would not be the book for you. But if you enjoy like Brandon Sanderson or George R.R. Martin and their writing style, then definitely check out Anthony Ryan, The Waking Fire, and I will definitely be reading the rest of the series. My final 5-star book is going to be 10 Ultimate Truths Girls Should Know. This is a nonfiction book, a very, very short read that I really liked. The audience is geared towards teenagers and younger girls, but honestly, no matter what age you are, I feel like any woman would be able to get something out of this book. And it's a really quick read. I read it in one sitting, and I just really enjoyed it. I felt like it was very clean. It had a lot of empowering messages, and I would suggest if you have a niece or a daughter or a granddaughter that is in middle school or high school to definitely pick this book up. I think every single girl could get some sort of message out of it. So that is it, guys. That is my August wrap up. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books or want to read any of these books and what you thought about them, because I would love to hear from you, and I will see you in a video next time. Bye.